Hey, how are you? Welcome to another edition of Liberate Your Authentic Self. That's right, it's all about inspiration and insight to be more fully you. And this is the Monday edition, which means I'm rested up. Typically over the weekend, I get to do anything creative that I want, and that allows me to kind of flow into Mondays full of ideas bubbling. And today I specifically want to talk to you about how you will know whether or not you're living your soul's purpose. And even though that may sound a little bit lofty, that's what I'm up to, y'all. I'm up to the lofty stuff. So wonderful to see your smiling faces. Well, okay, I don't actually see your smiling faces. That's a lie. But it's wonderful to be connected with you. As you know, this is the time when I like to, sometimes it's a rant. I'm not ranting today. Today is not meant to be a rant. Today is actually, I won't say it's totally structured, because that's not really, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be so structured that it becomes boring or becomes some kind of a lesson, but it is kind of a lesson because that's my role. Part of my life's purpose is to teach and inspire. How am I doing so far? Is it working for you? So welcome. I would love to see where you are tuning in from. I know this is new. You have to come over here to this Dr. Andrea page in order to get a hold of the insight and inspiration. And it's new for me too. I'm used to doing this on my personal profile, but then I would be limited. Facebook rules, you know. Hey Kim, good to see you. Glad to see that you are here and looking forward to sharing with you this week. It's going to be a good week. Hello Heidi, good to have you with us as well. And how was your weekend? What have you guys been up to this weekend? Do you also use the weekend to recharge and tap into another energy force so that you can live your life's purpose? That's what I did. Sienna and I had just a quiet weekend at home, and it was really nice. Last night we got to watch the One Love Manchester event. I don't know if any of you guys watched that, but Ariana Grande and several other superstars like Pharrell and let's see, there was will.i.am from Black Eyed Peas, Coldplay, Miley Cyrus. There were a bunch of musicians who got together to honor the people who lost their lives in Manchester. And of course, since that happened, at the Ariana Grande concert, it was really nice that she came back to the UK and wanted to just show the love. So we got to watch that last night, Sienna and I, and it reminded me, today we're talking about life purpose, and I know how much music and the arts have influenced me. And so it was interesting to watch these people last night. There were people crying. Okay, some of them were crying because of Justin Bieber. It's so cute to see the fan love. But some people were just really moved by just being together in that sense of solidarity and knowing that these musicians have come together specifically to show love and support. And then there were videos shown of artists who weren't performing necessarily, like Sir Paul McCartney and a bunch of other people who just said, look, we stand with you, Manchester. And to me that's beautiful because I appreciate the arts so very much. Even though when I was growing up, I was told that it wasn't a meaningful place to put one's hopes and dreams as far as a career. And I only realized after hitting my head against the wall and feeling completely says we've got a poor connection. Not again. Kim, thank you for sharing the video. I know we're trying to get some more people to realize that I'm over here on this public page, my public profile page. So I wonder how many of you out there feel like you are truly living your purpose? And how would you even recognize it? Hey Camilla, welcome. How would you recognize your purpose? Do you even know? Do you think that you have one purpose in this life, or could you maybe have many? I feel like sometimes it can seem as though our purpose does change from one moment to the next. And for some of us, if we are fortunate enough to have visible proof or signs that we are living our purpose, it's great. But at times, the evidence that you are on purpose is really much more an internal thing. And so I find that flow and fulfillment are really the indicators that you are living on purpose and that you are in alignment with your soul and what your soul came to do. So how many of you feel that way? Do you feel like there is some sort of grand purpose for your life? Are you in touch with it? Or are you trying to still figure it out? Maybe. I'd love it if you type away. Let me know that I'm not alone here. Considering that I'm out in this little, it's not really far out in the mountains, but every now and then the internet just decides to be lame. So I would love it if you guys can chime in and let me know that I'm still broadcasting out there. And let me know what you feel about your life purpose. I feel like as a soul, as an offshoot of divine consciousness, we each have a role to play in the grand scheme of life. And sometimes that's really obvious, and sometimes it takes life, going through the motions until it really becomes so clear. And I definitely feel like I have a clue now, looking back over my life. And one of the things my mother used to always say, I don't know if you ever heard Dr. P say this, Kim, but my mom used to always say, your destiny is best viewed in the rearview mirror. It's like you can see what's happened in the past and start to recognize there were signs, there were, things that were leading you on this path. So, yeah, I wonder if you feel like you are on your purpose. Hello, Mai. You're here on and off. The internet connection is confused. Yeah, so is mine. So it's a little frustrating, but we will persevere. So I feel like when I look back over my life, it's very clear what my purpose is. And I want you to just consider life purpose in a couple of ways. So Camilla, you say, I know I'm not living my purpose since I'm drained every day, and you find it difficult to connect with your life purpose. Okay, well, let's talk about that and that feeling of drained, because specifically what I want to talk about today is how our feelings and our emotions can give us signs to get us back on purpose. Okay? Kim says, yes, I feel that there's something bigger than you confess, but you have to start somewhere and become established. John Butcher of Life Book started off with the little precious moments curios. Yeah, and now look at him. Exactly. Like, it's not like we pop out of the womb. It's not like Gandhi knew that he was going to be leading this revolution and become someone who would fast and get the British out of India. I don't know that all of us are that dialed in, but I want to talk about what we can do now, here, as practical people. Because as much as I love to talk about big, deep consciousness, I also like to make it practical, because day-to-day life can really be confusing and can really drain our attention. So, hey Melvin, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. So we're talking about life purpose. And if we consider that in this life, you really do have a sense of purpose that relates to actions. So by this, Camilla, I'm talking about the things that you're doing. And these are the actions, the activities. It could be your job, it could be your function. So there's that side of purpose. But there's also purpose that can be seen from the aspect of what you are being. So who you are being, or the beingness, is more of an ongoing and operational and functional sign of you living on purpose. Now, I know that the distinction is a little bit fine, so I want to kind of get back into it. So if we consider, for example, the purpose of an object, such as a spoon, well, it's pretty easy to see what the purpose of that spoon is, and we can tell if the purpose is being fulfilled. But what about us as human beings? So if we look again, randomly, let's just say we're looking at a spoon. It's clear that a spoon could have a number of different functions. We could actually even flatten it out with a hammer and try to sharpen it and use it almost as a knife. So there could be many functions that this thing can perform. But in the case of us humans, we may have some sort of function in this life, that is the actions that we are meant to perform, but we also have an expression or a beingness that's also meant to be. So we can look at function and form that dictate what you do, but essence, our essence is expressed no matter what we are doing. And so when we're on purpose, the way I like to look at using our feelings is that when we feel good, or we experience flow, or we feel fulfilled, that's how we know we're on purpose. So Camilla, when you say that you know you're not living your purpose since you're always feeling drained, yes, that is a sign. If we feel anything less than joy and bliss and excitement and passion, then what are we feeling instead? We must be feeling frustration or anger, bitterness, resentment, drained, tired, any number of feelings of conflict and unrest. Those feelings are meant to give us a warning sign, because we as human beings are meant to live with vitality and joy and passion and purpose and total abundance. So anytime that we're getting these negative, what we label as negative feelings, they are messengers. So we know that when we're on purpose, we feel good, we experience flow, we feel fulfilled. And flow is that state of being where you are so engaged in a task that you lose all track of time. You lose even sense of yourself, like the egoic part of you that is always judging. You lose sight of even that part of you. And you feel completely caught up and engaged, such that, you and the task become one. That's what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the researcher, described as flow. And Carl Jung called it peak experiences. So, for example, we always think about athletes who are like totally in the zone where their athletic ability just looks like it's effortless. And musicians, when they get into that flow or that zone where they are just playing as one, we always talk about jazz musicians like being in the pocket, like there's this mystery and mysticism about flow. But we can also find that in a number of ways. In relationships, when we're writing, when we're singing, when we're dancing, when we're making love, all of those can be flowful experiences. So Camilla says, you feel that conflict is that you're seeking purpose within me, but it doesn't click with the need to make money. Maybe your focus should be different. So what kind of work are you currently doing, Camilla? That's what I'd love to know. And Kim says, it's the beingness is what other people connect with. That's right. So I always talk about my experience since moving to France it's been kind of trippy, because living in these really small villages, there is always a a boulangerie, there's always a pharmacy. There's always these little shops for each village, right? Because many of the people here in these little cute villages in France, they're either on bikes or they're walking. They're not like us Americans who will literally get in our car to drive 5 minutes away. And so everything becomes this like local little bubble. And one of the things that I loved about moving to these little tiny French towns is when you go to the bakery in the morning, you see kind of the same people in the same routine. And at first, I used to think, oh my God, that would be torture. Like I couldn't imagine being in the same routine every day, seeing the same people, doing the same thing. But when I looked at it from a different perspective, I saw like these beautiful little old people who must have walked that same course for the last 20 or 30 years. And they've watched, the baker and his son like grow up, and they have this relationship. And even though you might say, oh, being a baker, that's no big deal, his beingness, this part of community, providing food and nurturing and friendship in this little community way, is that living a life of purpose? I would say absolutely yes. And it's so enriching to people who maybe like us, we do like to travel the world and scale the mountains, and like the beautiful Solveig who just did 500 kilometers on a bike in Croatia. Oh my God. Or April Chandler, who was just, sunning herself in Morocco and then scaling these high mountains, the things that we can put ourselves through, right? Just to feel that sense of flow and getting out of our zone. Well, not everybody's like that. But does that mean they're not living a life of purpose? Absolutely not. So it's about us finding that vibe and that flow that makes us feel alive. So when we are off purpose, life feels hard, or it feels boring and stuck and unfulfilling. And that's usually when that anger and frustration and resentment, and for me, it manifested as depression. I felt depressed when I wasn't fully living my purpose. So in other words, we can use our feelings and our emotions as guides. In fact, our feelings and our emotions are literally messengers. They are carrying an electrical message, the evidence that we are not moving forward or toward a destination of peace and fulfillment. Does this make sense to anyone? So Camilla, you say you're not working right now since you're down with difficult stress, but you have your own company as a bookkeeper. All right, we did talk about that. Sorry, I forgot. But you're sure that you're not going back to be a bookkeeper. It's for sure not your life purpose. So you're just trying to feel and find your true life purpose. All right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about, if I'm saying that our emotions can be guides, those feelings, obviously you already got it, Camilla, going in the direction of being a bookkeeper again, that pulls you down. That does not make you feel good. I'll be introducing some interviews. Eventually these Monday and Friday episodes are not going to be just me. I'd love to start interviewing other people and sharing some of the wisdom that I've connected with over the years. And so there are a couple of really cool techniques and modalities. One of them is the energy alignment method by the beautiful Yvette Taylor, and nature genetics with Sol and Gulli from Iceland. So there are different ways that we can start to figure out what is right for us based on our nature, based on our genetics, based on what I call the soul print. So if we consider that our emotions and feelings are really just signposts, they're signposts that can help us navigate toward places, towards people, towards opportunities that enable us to be, do, and have what we truly desire to fulfill our purpose. So here's what I want to ask you, Camilla, and you're doing the steps that are on my website. Awesome. So hopefully that's helpful to you so far. So here's what I would say. When it comes to where you are right now, one of the things that I've asked people to do is look over the last 10 years of your life. Some people will need to go even further back to maybe childhood. But look over the last several years of your life, and with a piece of paper, write down all the high points, all the times where you have had what we call peak experiences, that state of flow, that state of joy, that state of elation, where you felt like, yes, this is living. And it could have been when you were doing anything. Don't worry about it being tied to work just yet. It could be that you were baking, or you were dancing, or you were volunteering. What were the things in the last several years where you felt like it was a peak experience, you felt flow, you felt fulfillment, you felt joy, whatever. So write those down. And then just on that piece of paper, once you've got a list of them, then I want you to kind of write down what made those possible. There are things inside of us that we bring out that allow us to reach a state of flow. So in flow, we talk about using our natural strengths and abilities in a way that we're totally engaged. And it's usually with some effort. It's not effortless such that you could do it with your eyes closed. That doesn't produce flow. It kind of produces ennui. But if you could make a list of those times when you had those high points, what in you were you bringing forth? Was it your wisdom? Was it your ability to be a compassionate listener? Was it your creativity for, I don't know, I'm thinking of my daughter with cooking. You know, she has this creativity that is just amazing. And she gets really into the zone when doing it. So write those down and find out, what was it in me that I brought forth in those moments, or was being used in those moments? Was it your intellect? Was it your keen eye for detail? Was it your love of beauty? Was it your courage? Like you, Shelley, I think you said bravery or courage are one of your top values, right? So for you, traveling, coaching, and personal development for Shelley. Awesome. So if you know that those kinds of things were where you had those peak experiences, the next thing is to write down what you brought to the table. So while you are teaching or coaching, Shelley, what is it that comes out of you? What are you engaged in using? Secondly, is what about the environment or the situation made that possible? So if we're saying that, you know, being on the top of a mountain produced that peak experience where you were looking at the sunset and you just felt awe and wonder and gratitude and appreciation for life, then what made that possible? So one, there are common things like, yes, I planned the trip, I hiked up that mountain, there was a perfect sunset. Well, write down those things, because when you combine the internal and the external to what created these peak experiences for you, you're going to start to see clues. So over the last 10 years, write down all these sort of peak experiences. They could be anything. Watching the birth of, you know, your sister's baby, or watching the baby take its first steps, or, you know, being at some major event, or whatever it is, whatever those peak experiences are, write down what came out of you, what needed to be in that environment. And those are going to be the clues that you will use to kind of tap back in and say, okay, where do I feel flow? So that's the first ingredient. It's flow. All right. The next ingredient that I feel is really important when it comes to living with purpose is a sense of fulfillment. Now this one is a little tricky. I know some people think of it like, oh, success and achievement. It's not really the same. I can tell you from my own personal experience, you've probably heard me say it before, and definitely when I moved to the Riviera and started working with all these millionaires and billionaires in Monte Carlo, all the outer evidence of success or achievement does not necessarily equal inner fulfillment. So I want you to look at all the things that over the last 10 years, and again, you may have to go even further back in your life, but when you look at your life, what were the things that you were doing or experiencing that gave you deep fulfillment? Like that sense of peace, of rightness or correctness, where it's just like, yeah, this is what life is really about. Like, it doesn't even matter who people think I am or how much I'm making or whatever. You just recognize that, oh, that sense of fulfillment. And the reason fulfillment is, to me, important is because it's an internal job. And you're going to hear me talk about this a little bit more. So these are the things we're looking at to get a sense or a signpost or evidence that we're living with our soul's purpose. Now, of course, if you're doing meditation or prayer and you tap in and you feel like you're getting a message from God, the angels, the divine, your higher self, your ancestors, the Buddha, Christ, Muhammad, whoever, someone who's telling you what your life purpose is, that makes it pretty easy. But otherwise, then you have to go by this human apparatus that we're given, okay? And so you'll hear me talk about a calling. So let's see. So Camilla, maybe this is your calling. You're saying you know that you're meant to help people and that your heart goes out to young single mothers since you've been there yourself 15 years ago. Awesome. So just trying to see, how are you able to bring it to be some type of work? So Camilla says, I'm 40 and feel it's difficult to start from the beginning again and get a new education. But that's maybe just your fear talking, she says. Yeah, I just want you to open your mind. So if we can make an agreement that at least 2 times, maybe even 3 times a week, anytime you're here with me, whether it's Monday, Friday, or my Wednesday cup of verbal tea, let's just make an agreement that we come with an open mind, that all of our fears and doubts and superstitions and myths and beliefs, we just kind of put them over to the side and open our mind and heart to possibility. Because here's the thing, I've talked about that call, the calling. You know, we talk about on the hero's journey, there's a call. And that call to adventure can feel like it's coming from the outside, but for most of us healers or light workers or empaths, we feel it on the inside. So Camilla, what you're saying, when you know that you're meant to help people and that your heart goes to young single mothers because you know what that's like, then that's the calling. And it's that feeling or that suggestion that says it's time to make a move, it's time to make a change, the internal feelings that we experience. So yes, Camilla says, yes, I'm in, hallelujah. So at least a few times a week, we're going to open our mind, consider some other possibilities for our lives and for this planet. Yes. All right, so that's the internal feeling. Now, some of the outer signs that we're living on purpose, or that we're at least going in the direction of purpose, the outer signs can be synchronicities or coincidences, where things just seem to be like amazingly falling into place for us. And we start to realize that, wow, I can start to trust my feelings or my gut instinct or the intuition. All of that comes with practice, though, which means we have to be aware of it. Like awareness of what you're feeling, acknowledgement of those emotions is the most important thing. Because we can only get confirmation or feedback from life if we acknowledge what we're feeling. Color energy coaching, says Jeanette. Color energy coaching is your passion. Ooh, what does that mean? Color energy. Does it mean like the colors that we put around us? You can see in my life there's a whole lot of fuchsia and pink going on and purple. That's definitely what resonates for me. So anyway, we're talking about living your soul's purpose. I'd love to hear from more of you about that. So the concept is getting in touch with what we feel. It's this inner awareness that is needed. Tuning in to your feelings and emotions. Knowing yourself and knowing what makes you tick. So one of the things that you've heard me talk about probably is the attunement meditation. It's that 5-step mindfulness practice that helps us tune our body and our brain and our heart to positivity so that we can manifest and architect our lives according to our soul's vision or a higher vision for ourselves. There I go again into that lofty talk. So what does that mean? Let's make it practical. The first step of the attunement process is awareness. It is becoming aware of what is. And so insight and around you, inside and around you, the color energy. All right, Jeanette, I like that. So this, Jeanette, this actually goes well with where I am with the attunement process. So step one of the attunement process is to allow. That means we allow whatever feeling, whatever thought, whatever emotion is present to just come up and be acknowledged, becoming aware. So many times, especially women, we often feel like we are not allowed to have emotions, especially not strong emotion or powerful emotions or, you know, anger or mean emotions. But when we stifle that emotion, it can cause us to get off track. And that energy, because that's all emotion is, energy in motion. That's what emotion is. And if those emotions are trying to come up and be expressed and we don't let it, that energy goes within and it can damage us. It can lead to illness and dis-ease. And so one of the things that, one of my very early experiences was a woman who came to our medical practice. Hi, Janet. Hi, Sinitra. Janet, thank you for sharing the video. Somebody who came to my medical practice, and Janet, you know that I was practicing with my mother, Dr. P, and I had a woman who came into the Pennington Institute in Washington, D.C., and she wanted to get help for stress. Okay, stress is something we all know about, and definitely as an acupuncturist, we have our little protocols. But as she sat down, she was telling me about what was going on in her present life. She was a computer tech engineer kind of gal, working in a male-dominated company where she was doing computer tech stuff. And she was unhappy, so unhappy and so stressed that her stomach was always in knots. She was having, you know, irritable bowel syndrome type of symptoms and bladder problems. And so I asked her about how she ended up in that job. Now, of course, she took me back all the way to childhood. And you can probably guess, as a kid, she was in the arts. And for Jeanette, who does the color energy coaching, so this woman, she was into color. She liked to color her hair. She had colorful clothes. She didn't care if one sock matched the other. She went to a performing arts high school in Washington, D.C., and she was always in the arts. But when she got to high school, there was a counselor who said, you know, you are really smart, and if you want to succeed in life, you should go to college and you should study something like computer or, you know, technology or engineering. And her family, who none of them had ever been to college, they heard that and they said, you know, they're probably right. You want a good future, you want money, you want, you know, security in life. And so they also encouraged her to go to college, and she did it. She did well. She graduated, she got her, you know, degree, and she got this job. But guess what? She wasn't like doing anything creative, and she felt like, okay, it's a male-dominated world at the time, and she just felt like she had to be like everyone else, and she was not feeling fulfilled. So there's again that feeling of fulfillment. Like, yes, we can work hard. I'm not saying that living your life purpose is going to be all rosy and easy and you never do anything. It's like floating on a cloud. No. Living your purpose can also be very difficult or challenging, and it requires effort. But the question is, do you feel a sense of fulfillment after that effort? And that's the thing about flow. Flow is when we're using our talents and our strengths and our abilities with some effort, with a little bit of oomph, but we lose all sense of self, we lose sense of time, we feel so caught up in the task, we become one with it. It's almost as though our abilities are heightened or taken over by another force, right? That's what happens with musicians and artists and athletes, right? But after those experiences, they may feel drained because they've been really exerting their human capacity, but they feel a sense of fulfillment, like, whoa. So those are the clues for us to look over our life and see, when were those high points? When did I experience flow? And when were those times when I felt a deep sense of fulfillment? Now back to this patient that I was telling you about. When I asked her to think back on the times when she felt that sense of flow and fulfillment, she was like, well, yeah, it was when I was like designing clothes, whether it was cutting out little clothes for her dolls, or when she got into middle school, she could help create the outfits for the school plays. She was like, that was fun. I could spend hours cutting and sewing and designing. And y'all, if you could have seen her face light up, I mean, her whole energy changed, her body changed, everything changed. And I'm like, it doesn't take a genius to see that you need to be doing more of that. So here's the thing. I guess because I'm a doctor, I can give her a prescription to go out and do these things. And guess what? Within a week, she came back. She was like, okay, I'll get some more acupuncture. But she was like looking light on her toes. And I'm like, what have you been up to? She's like, I've been following your prescription, doing exactly what I love, all these things that are artistic and colors and cutting and looking at design. So long story short, so your story is the same, Camilla. So yeah. So here's the deal, Camilla. She kept following her inspiration and getting into things that as an adult, yes, what was it that brought her joy? Well, eventually she left that computer tech job and she opened up a boutique. And do you know what, y'all? I got an email with a news clipping that she had opened a boutique in Washington, D.C., and now these local celebrities are coming there. And she got a write-up in the newspaper. You know, she is living her purpose. That is her purpose. And she feels so much better. Like all the stress-related illnesses, all the tummy problems that she was having, gone. Why? Because when we're living our soul's purpose, that energy starts to flow and be expressed instead of repressed. So look at the things that bring you flow and enjoyment and things where you could use your natural strengths and your abilities and that feeling of fulfillment, that sense of rightness and purpose. Now, meaning, that's up for you to determine if it feels meaningful. But I want to make sure that you don't judge or compare yourself against anybody else. Because comparison is a trap. Comparison makes us, or gives us the temptation to give in to conformity. Conforming to what everyone else is doing or saying. So the reason why I'm so passionate about this community of other light workers, healers, and people who are soul conscious or trying to be soul conscious is because if we are in an environment that's negative, it could knock us off our game. But when we connect with other people who can see the light and the love in you, it can keep you on path. Because I really believe that conformity is like poison to authentic self-expression. Okay? And comparing yourself to anybody else out there will always leave you feeling doubtful and like you're just not good enough. And so we have to be mindful. So I'm practical. And like I say, as much as I am very much dialed into my soul and I get my downloads in meditation and I believe in a spiritual path, there is a practical side to me about being on this earth. Until I am perfect at, alchemy and turning water to wine and walking on water and walking through walls, I need a strategy. I need plans. So I've got 5 things that I want you to really be mindful of as you are considering how to align your life to live your purpose as your authentic self. Now, the number one thing is to take action. As much as I say that I'm inspired by my soul, I take action. So when people ask, how have you gotten so much done in life? I take action. I love meditation, and I spend hours every week in meditation. But I'm not just sitting there and expecting things to get done without me. I know that there's going to come a time when I could do that because I got magic up in here. But you need to take action. And the first action is to check your mindset, okay? And the number one thing is to remember, living with purpose is an internally driven and internally assessed thing. That means you cannot compare yourself to outside standards. Okay? You cannot look for validation or approval from other people. Confirmation, if you get it, that's great. When someone says, oh wow, you've done an amazing job, or oh, that so touched me. Yeah, you can accept the confirmation, but don't go looking for it. Okay? Yes, Anitra, hashtag take action, baby. Yes. Stop comparing yourself to others and stop looking for validation from others. And the other part of the mindset thing is this. Self-forgiveness and compassion must become automatic and standard operation. What does that mean? Self-compassion means no more self-judgment in a harsh way. Self-compassion means I forgive myself when I screw up. Because guess what? If you're going to start to live outside of the box, outside of that traditional beaten path, you're going to stumble sometimes. There are going to be rocks and thorns and bumps and twists and turns, and that's okay. So you have to forgive yourself for not yet being perfectly psychic, you know? It's okay. So these are the things that just, your mindset is so crucial. You've got to adopt this mindset that I can grow, I can learn, and I will forgive myself when I fall down and bump my head. It means that we reframe the way you look at quote-unquote failure, and also the way you look at quote-unquote success, right? That's right, Shelley, it's perfectionism rehab. And you know what? My name is Andrea, and I'm a former perfectionist. Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's true. I used to be so completely caught up with perfectionism because, again, from our childhood, we start looking for validation and we start looking for approval from others. At least I did. And I felt like I had to be perfect. I had to know everything. I had to have the right response. I had to have, when I got into medicine, I had to have all the backup, you know, all the data to prove that, you know, what I was doing was sound and qualified. So yeah, I was a perfectionist. Yeah. Ooh, and Jeanette says, your passion is also HSP teaching tools. I want to learn more about that because, you know, this tribe is full of highly sensitive people. You know, us psychic empaths, light workers, we feel a lot more. Clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant. Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that. All right, so when I say take action, I said there are 5 things. The first one was that mindset that I just told you about. I need water. All right. So from a mindset thing, remember that living with purpose is internally driven and internally assessed. Stop comparing yourself to anybody out there. That's the mindset thing. Number 2 is find a mentor. Y'all, what has saved me in this world is having a mentor. Like, I don't know, how many of you have mentors in your life? Sarah says you can resonate with this, still stumble with body image, but getting there. Awesome. Yes, I know. Body image. Oof, we're going to do a whole lot on that. And somebody else asked about food. I got an email from someone saying about eating awareness. We're going to tackle that separately. Today's about life purpose, but I'm with you on that. So Sarah, stay tuned. All right? So no mentor. So y'all, you need mentors in your life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a mentor, because actually my mentoring list is full. So I'm not even accepting new clients. This is not me trying to get you to hire me. What I'm saying is having a mentor or a coach, someone who is maybe a few steps or a lot of steps above you, that you can be honest and real with, someone who sees the same vision that you hold for yourself and will push you and motivate you, someone who's not afraid to call you on your bullshit when you're being, full of complaining, and excuses and wah. Because we all go through that. And one of my mentors said, okay, you can have a little pity party for 10 minutes and then come back. Because it's like, okay, yes, sometimes life does suck and we want to cry and moan and bitch and complain, but it's got to be limited. That's what one of my mentors taught me. But having a mentor or a coach has allowed me to push myself and to strive to be more so that I don't settle. Now, I mentioned the thing about mindset, and I remember working with this mental performance coach. And actually, he mainly works with athletes. But at the time, I was like, I want to think like an athlete. I want the rigor of an athlete. Like athletes, like they fall all the time. They miss baskets. They miss, whatever their sport is, they screw up a lot. And yet they get back up. They deal with the humiliation of the crowds and the reporters and all of that. So I reached out to this coach and said, God, I want to work with you because I want to have the mental toughness of an athlete. And one of the things that I thought was so cool was a story that he told me about Tiger Woods. So this is the American golfer, for those of you that don't know Tiger Woods. And Tiger was apparently working with a coach to change something in his golf swing. Now, I am not a professional golfer. I don't even come close. You don't want me on the greens trying to hit some ball. But I do recognize and respect that the golf game, everything from the way you hold, wrap your finger around the club, the way you position your shoulders and your hips and the little bend in your knee, following the ball, there are so many things that go into a golf swing that Tiger was working with this coach and he was changing his swing. Now, that may not sound like a big deal to you, right? Because you think he's already world class. Well, guess what, honey? When you change the angle of your body or the weight of your tool, it changes everything, which meant there was going to be a period of time where Tiger was going to probably suck. So can you imagine when you feel like you're at the top of your game, which a lot of my clients, when they come out of a career where they've been like a consultant or they've owned a company or they were an employee and they were already at the top of their game, and then they want to shift gears and become like a coach or a motivational speaker, or they want to write their first book or get a TED Talk, they're like, this is whole new territory. You're gonna suck at the beginning, and that's okay. So here, back to this Tiger Woods thing. So sure enough, Tiger's working with his coach. He's changing up his swing, and it's going to take months, if not over a year, to really perfect it, till his whole body and his muscle memory is so dialed in that he can actually perform and win again. So guess what? As soon as he went back out into competition and he bombed, guess what? You hear all these people in the media talking about like all the negativity, and for us, most of us, the negativity is in our own head, right? Self-talk. But it's even worse for an athlete because you hear people on the court or they're booing, or you see the reporter saying, so, you totally choked on the 9th hole, right? So this is the thing that Tiger did when one of the reporters came to him and was basically trying to tear him down. Here's what he said. I'm building something here. I don't know if that does anything for you, but for me, when I heard this mental performance coach say that, I got it. Sometimes when we are building a purpose-filled life, to folks on the outside, oh, you're giving up your career? Oh, you think you're going to be a singer? Oh, you're too old. Oh, you've got a kid. We hear all the blah, 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 blah from the outside. People looking at, oh, you aren't even making any money. Oh, you do it. We hear all that. And then, as I said, you add in our own negative self-talk. Oh my God, what am I doing? Right? But the idea that you are building something, sure, as you lay the foundation, those fools out there aren't going to get it because they don't have the blueprint. They don't have the vision that you have. And add to that you might be spiritual and you're getting downloads from the divine. that doesn't fit most people's paradigm. But when Tiger said that, I'm building something here, it was as if to say, shut your mouth. You don't know. I know. And he was able to continue working with his coach. And yeah, he got back to a point where he was rocking and rolling, and he's had his little dips, definitely when there's stuff going on in the personal life. But I want to say that to say, once again, just stress the idea of having a mentor or a coach, someone that can work with you and be present with you when you are building something new and feeling like I'm not at my best, but they still hold the highest vision of you, which means you got to have a high vision of yourself. All right. Gosh, it's already 10 minutes to 4 for me here in France. I've been running my mouth again. See? That's flow, y'all. Being caught up in the flow. And y'all aren't even commenting. No, either my internet's gone bad again, or you guys are really listening. Type in and let me know. Give me some love. Show me something. So number 3 on this list of what to do to make sure that you can live a life of purpose is to play, to experiment, and to explore more. So as I said to Camilla, that, for these 3 times that we meet per week, great, I see the little slow, the lagged response of some hearts flying out. I want you to just, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jeanette. I want you to just look at the time that we spend together in this virtual mentoring or coaching and inspiring situation. Thank you for the love, guys. I appreciate to know you're still here. Look at this as a time where you can play and explore more. You've got to allow yourself the freedom to explore. You don't have to have everything perfectly figured out and mapped out. Now, of course, if you're trying to start a business and you're putting money into it, yeah, you might be a little more. But I'm talking about when it comes to really figuring out what lights you up, what sets your soul on fire. And I want you to just ask yourself a what if question. Like, what if I spent the whole day painting? What if I didn't respond to all these emails? What if I allowed myself the freedom to just dream? Ask yourself, what if more? Just to see what bubbles up. Because remember I talked about the attunement process. The first step is to allow. Allow these emotions, these energies, these feelings, these ideas to come up and be acknowledged. Not stuffed away or stifled or judged. Just, well, what if? Oh, wow, I'm feeling this inspiration to go do something. What if I did? What if I didn't limit myself? So this is the thing, that asking what if. And I've already talked about it, but reframing this idea of success and failure. Allow yourself to play, explore, and experiment more. And ask yourself right now, what is success for you? I'd love to see if anyone would write in, how do you define success? Because if it was the way we were taught in school that, you get certain grades on your report card and that's being successful, or having a job that pays a certain amount of money, or for some people, having a husband was a level of success. But how do you, personally, right here, right now, how would you know if you are successful? Most people would say that success is the achievement of worthy goals. And I think it was Deepak Chopra that said that. And I find that worthy goals, it needs to be worthy to you. So that is number 3. Number 4 on my list today is choose your environment and your community wisely. Everyone knows this quote by Jim Rohn that says, "You are the sum total of the 5 people that you are closest to. The 5 people that are closest to you in your life are going to have the greatest influence on you and over you. And as a physician, we know that if you hang out with overweight or obese people, it's been clinically shown that even thin people will become heavy if their immediate environment or the people that are closest to them are overweight or obese. And it's uncanny, but their eating habits change, their vision changes. Like, did you even know that your body image can change based on your brain? So who was it that mentioned still having occasional challenges with body image? Sarah. So Sarah, I want you to dial into a vision of yourself. Maybe you have a picture of yourself from, back in the day when you were at your ideal weight, when you felt good about your body. I want you to focus on that mentally, like visualizing yourself at your target weight, but not just like, oh, I weigh a certain amount of pounds. It's the feelingness. The feeling is the prayer. Because what we actually found out, and this was about 10 years ago, I was blown away by the science that shows that our thoughts, our visions can change the brain. So I'm taking a little detour, but is your body's set point. Have you ever heard of this? The biological set point? Meaning, just like you have a thermostat, which tells you if it's meant to be 22 degrees over here in Europe or 78 degrees in America, and if the temperature falls lower than that, then the heater comes on to bring it back and make it warmer. Or if it's the summertime and it gets hot, then the air conditioner comes on to bring the temperature back to the set point. Well, it's the same with our brain and our weight. There is a biological set point. So we might have a set point set by our genetics or whatever that says we're supposed to be, 60 kilos or 140 pounds. But guess what? We have free will. That means you can overeat. And the studies show that if you raise your weight and leave it locked in for a few years, the brain will say, oh, I thought I was only supposed to be 60 kilos, but maybe I'm wrong. She must be right. And it will change your set point. But the cool thing about it is we now know that our vision or our thoughts, our cognitive inputs, as the science say, the cognitive inputs can change your set point. So when we talk about choosing your environment wisely, I'm talking about the things you allow to go into your brain, because it will change the way you see the world and the way your body shows up in that world. So surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded, who are soul-conscious and heart-centered is what I'm talking about here, okay? Now, Camilla says, your heart says success is in you being in flow and love. And your ego, from your learning through the years, success equals money in the bank. Well, we know that success does not equal money in the bank. That's just not true. So it's a lie that we're taught in school and in society, but it's not true. Because if it were true, then people with tons of money would feel successful. But we know that there are many people who do not. But if your heart is telling you that success means being in flow and love, then find those areas in your life where you feel flow and love and do more of it. We'll talk about later how you match that up to a market opportunity so that you can make money. When you say you're following the steps, Camilla, are you following the steps that you've seen on AndreaPennington.com for self-love, or at MakeYourMarkGlobal.com for the turning your talents into a business? That's what I want to know. And we might just have to get really specific, because I can totally see, Camilla, if you're saying that your heart is really going out to women and single women with children, then there's absolutely a way that you can match that heart desire to a market need and find a way to make money off of it. Now, okay, maybe single moms don't have the big money that someone who would go out and buy a Tesla, but you can certainly make a reasonable living off of that. So yeah, you are talking about turn your talent into business. So I would look at that. So Camilla, when you look over your life and you find those things that you just feel like your heart is leading you toward, if it is helping these women who, young single moms like you were years ago, what would that look like? Which of your talents would you be using? And get a vision of what would that look like? Would you be coaching? Would you be writing books? Would you be leading seminars? Don't worry about the money just yet. Go for the flow and that sense of fulfillment. Have you done it yet? Because if you're not working right now, if you're off because of stress-related illness, then find a way that you can do that for free. Like so many of us are so worried about money that we block ourselves when we're not even certain or sure that doing those activities is going to bring fulfillment. I'm asking you to just play and explore. Maybe there's someone close to you, a young mom, that you could probably either coach or counsel, not even in a coaching type of an agreement, but just get into that state. What would you be doing to help her? What would you do what would you do for a young mom? Okay, maybe I'm not young, but a single mom. It is hard. And maybe it's a support group, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a podcast, I don't know, because I need to know about your talents and what lights you up. But I know there's a market there. And sometimes it might be that you partner with a nonprofit that worries about the money side of it, some organization where you don't have to worry about becoming a coach and charging money. So you know what I'm saying, Camilla? So yeah, lack of money is blocking you. Well, stop it. Take the money out of the equation and say, what would I do? What would you do? Yes, we are young moms. Thank you, Camilla. That's what my daughter said. I was saying something about being old, and she was like, you are so not old, Mom. And I always ask her, are you trying to butter me up? She was like, I don't even know what that term means. She's like, I'm vegan. I wouldn't butter you up. Silly. I digress. So there you go. Shelley Thomas says, I'm a single mom and I'd be willing to explore with you. Like, there's some power here, y'all. But we have to get out of this idea that we have to measure our success based on money or how are we going to build it into a business. That will come, but I'm inviting you to just let it go for a moment and think about what would it be. Because that client of mine, she never would have thought at that moment when she had a 6-figure salary, the idea of starting a secondhand boutique that would become this shabby chic, iconic place in Washington, D.C., she would have never guessed that that would satisfy her financially. If she had looked at all the steps it was going to take to get that off the ground, she would have been defeated. But by being in this relationship with me, when I could say, here's your prescription, I want you to go do this, it allowed her to break free, break free, break free, break free. That's why I'm saying liberate your authentic self. Your authentic self knows what you need to be doing in this lifetime. And you've probably heard me say it so much that when we are living our true purpose, if there's something in us that wants to get out, it means that there's already someone in this world waiting for you. That's it. That's what you need to focus on first. And then yes, you might find a business advisor or a coach or someone who's going to help you figure out how to monetize it. But if that's not helping you now, then stop doing it. Stop focusing on the money and get back in touch with your heart and your soul. Okay, so now it's already after 4. Let me just tell you number 5. I made a little list for you, and I'll type this up so that you can get it. Yes, it is such a liberating feeling to be in alignment with your purpose. Amen, Shelley. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want all of us to be this sisterhood and brotherhood, this community of people who are truly aligned with your soul's purpose and living full out. And the opportunities and the connections are coming, y'all. We can support each other and grow businesses that are heart-centered. All right, number 5, become the conscious architect of your life with intention and initiative. So I want to ask you, just like I was talking about this idea of choosing your environment and your community wisely. I want you to add intention and initiative to how you architect your life. Because we can say that life is happening to us and we're a victim, and oh, well, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, if I didn't have these kids, or I didn't lose my job, or, we have so many excuses. But I'm saying, how do you spend your day? How do you spend every moment of your day? What are you focused on? What are you allowing to come in? Because if we can become the conscious architect of our life, we can live our life with purpose and on purpose. So that means at the beginning part of your day, what do you do when you first wake up in the morning? It should not be checking your cell phone or checking social media or checking your email to see what other people are trying to ask of you or what they're doing. No. The first part of your day should be you getting centered, going within. We're talking to your guides or God or angels or whomever gives you that inspiration, so that you are reflecting on and affirming what you want to achieve and create for yourself. So this means that you've got to have a morning routine that helps you feel inspired and connected, rather than wondering what the rest of the world is doing. By becoming a conscious architect of your life, it puts you in the empowerment seat. So how are you spending your day? This is what we need to look at. So I'm not talking about control in the form of attachment, like I've got to get all this stuff done on my to-do list. It's not that. I'm talking about, yes, spiritual surrender, but with a sense of focus, that I'm going to take the time to get dialed in, tuned in, whether it's breathing or meditation or visualization or affirmations or all of the above, to get connected with who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I being? What am I contributing to this life? Yes, you may need to stretch and grow and learn, but it needs to come from you and not the outside world. So this means that, we cannot just be we can't be aimless. Aimlessness is the enemy of progress. If you don't have anything guiding you and you're just kind of floating through your day, that's aimlessness. There needs to be at least enough structure and order that's allowing you to be centered and focused, that you are making progress toward your goals. And yes, you may need to have room for spontaneity, but the idea is first and foremost having a vision for your life and setting those goals and objectives. Even if they are a little abstract right now, it's like, okay, I want to be living at my best, fulfilling my purpose, utilizing my skills and talents. Get an image of what that would be. Even if it's a far off someday goal, it may take you 3 years or 5 years to get there. You want to give your brain and your mind and your heart something to aim for. It's giving your life a directionality. If you were building a big shopping center, it's going to take years in some cases, from digging out the holes to creating this foundation to the scaffolding to all of it. It's the same thing with our lives. So we have to have that vision for where we're going, even though it's going to take years to get there. And as much as I want you to have this big goal, set smaller goals in between. The tangible goals that we know we can reach give us confirmation that we're capable. We don't want to feel like a complete loser all the time. So create the things that are smaller, things that can help you feel like you're making that progress. So it could be, a 2-week goal, a 90-day goal, a 2-year, a 5-year, a 10-year goal. Because literally, when it comes down to this process of conscious creation, like Jeanette, you're saying that you have a vision board. Absolutely. Having that vision is what will help give us the direction. It's telling your soul, that's where I'm going. It's telling your brain, that's where we're going. And the brain will start to say, oh, wait, if I get off course, no, that's where I'm going. Having a vision for your life. So, oh, you're in tears, Camilla. I'm just wrapping you in so much love. Just know that I'm sending you hearts and love myself. You're not used to doing what you want, but doing what people want and expect from you. I know, honey. I know. I know. I've been there. I've done that too. And I know it takes courage and practice to break out. I wish it could be overnight. We wave a magic wand and ding, you're free. For some people it happens that way. Even though I had a near-death experience and I went out of my body and into the light and I saw that I could choose, I still wasn't instantly free. I was mentally free, but it took time for me to break away from that career and that American lifestyle and even the habits of thought. But every time I took a step, I felt confirmation, or I saw confirmation. And every time I took a step but it wasn't right, I used those bumps and that hitting my head not as a sign of failure, not as a sign of weakness, and definitely not as a sign that I should go back. It was just a lesson. What do I need to learn here? And where do I go next? And every time I took another step, and sometimes it requires courage. Sometimes it requires deep courage. And that's why I'm here pushing you. But every time I took a step and I was more bold, then I'd get some sort of confirmation. And just know that you are more powerful than you think you are. But that's got to come from within you. So trust it. And every little bit you just try, you try again. So that you can get that confirmation. And pretty soon it'll be so automatic that you will always be living your authentic self. So Camilla, consider this your prescription. To you who is listening or watching this, consider that Dr. Andrea has just written you a prescription to follow your heart, to just experiment and play and explore for the next 72 hours. Open your mind, open your heart, and ask, what if? What if I took Dr. Andrea's advice? What if I just took the day to fantasize about all the cool things that I would do if I weren't worried about money? What if I didn't think about money today and instead I thought about those things that light me up? Consider this your prescription to little by little liberate your authentic self. Okay? Will you try that? Will anyone else try that for the next 72 hours? I want to know. So I have been on, once again, for a very long time. Thank you, Camilla. It's over an hour, so I hope that this has been helpful. We don't have the numbers like we used to. You guys got to share this and let people know to come on over to the Dr. Andrea Pennington page, Monday and Friday at 3 o'clock Central European Standard Time, which is 9 a.m. in the East Coast of the United States. And this is part of me living my purpose. And when I look back on my life, I've been teaching since I was a kid. I've been a cheerleader and a promoter of other people, helping people tap into their genius, their greatness, and live it since I was a kid. Now, I didn't know then that I would have a career that was doing this. And my working in television and working on stage, that was always what gave me the greatest sense of fulfillment and flow. And so now, yes, I'm fortunate that I'm able to bring it all together to help people tap into it. But that's what gives me the greatest fulfillment. And you being here is allowing me to fulfill my purpose. So, Jeanette, thank you for saying that you will try. Wonderful. That's all we can do is give it a shot, right? Give it a shot and see what feedback, what You know, what does the universe tell you? What does your body tell you? What are your emotions telling you about what's going on inside of you? That maybe, just maybe, you're on the right track to living your purpose. So just know that I am sending out tons of love and sparkly chi from here, the south of France. And remember that you are a gift to this world. So share your presence with passion. May you be free from suffering. May you be truly well in body, mind, and heart. And may you be blissfully happy, living with purpose. So until next time, I say go out there and liberate your authentic self. If you want any more resources, please visit AndreaPennington.com. Get the free audiobook on Liberate and Love Your Authentic Self, or the top 10 traits for highly resilient people. And if business is your thing, check out MakeYourMarkGlobal.com. Much love to you all. The universe says magic is happening. Thank you, Jeanette. You are so right. I will see you Wednesday for my cup of verbal tea, where I will have my Wednesday rant. And, oh, this Friday I won't be here, guys, because I'm unplugging. I'm heading up to a mountain retreat for this Buddhist meditation center. So you'll only have me Monday and Wednesday this week. So just know I'm following my own advice, unplugging and going to get the nurturing that I need by visiting this center. So much love. Bye for now.